Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Prof. Nenden and dear classmate. Today, I'd like to present some points regarding to our today topic discussion about models of curriculum evaluation based on the book from Austin and Hankins. When we talk about curriculum evaluation is very essential to curriculum development, implementation, and also maintenance. However, ideally, evaluation determines the value of some actions or programs, the degree to which it helps students meet standard and its importance. And if we say in another word, curriculum needs evaluation to make it develop, implemented, and also applicable for students and teachers regarding to the present time. Evaluation of curriculum determines the value of some action or program in the field of education. What I can resume from the introduction of the curriculum evaluation chapter is the complexity of curriculum evaluations is based from how the students learn, how the policymaker affect schooling, how new pedagogies can address the needs of diverse students population, how curricula can be created using various modern and postmodern approaches, and how assessment devices can be created and modified to get a sense of learning. And in this presentation, I'd like to articulate some points in details, and the outline is the first nature and purpose of evaluation, and then formative and summative evaluation models, evaluation steps, and also issues of evaluation, and the last is about conclusions. When we talk about the nature and purpose of evaluation, we talk about evaluators. Evaluators in the process try to gather and interpret the data to determine whether to accept or change or eliminate aspect of curriculum. So curriculum itself, it's like our textbook. When we have to teach the materials from textbook, we don't give the whole materials from the textbook to the student, but we try to choose which one or which materials that best apply to our students regarding to teaching and learning objectives and teaching and learning goal. At the beginning of curriculum development, the very concept of the program must be evaluated. Does the program have worth and merit? Evaluation identifies the curriculum strength and weaknesses before and after implementations. And Pellegrino, Chodowski, and also Glacier tried to view this curriculum evaluation by using an hourglass object. And as we can see from this hourglass, the curriculum the curriculum and cognition theory has the same level. So it means that curriculum should represent the cognitive purpose from teaching and learning. And if we take a look to the neck of this hourglass, it is stated about the observation. And observation is the stage of reasoning, because observation can shape the objective and purpose of the students' learning in curriculum. And the base, if we take a look to the base of this hourglass, there is interpretation. Interpretation is very essential because all the process should be interpreted into evidence, so the policymaker or the stakeholders can give some decision for the curriculum implementations. Harry Talmadge in 1980 tried to pose 5 types of questions regarding to the curriculum evaluations here. There are 5 questions. First, intrinsic, second, instrumental, comparative, idealization, and decision value. We talk about the intrinsic question, so it addresses the curriculum's goodness and appropriateness. And if we talk about the instrumental questions, in a brief, we can say that instrumental question regarding to the what is the questions like what is curriculum good for, who is intended audience. It also addressed the which students will accomplish what is planned in the curriculum and to what extent. And for the comparative questions, it's like comparison questions that we will we will ask for the new program, because usually new programs are created because people feel that the existing program is inadequate. So comparative questions will be asked by people whether the new program applied in the curriculum. And then fourth questions is idealization value. So it addresses ways to improve a curriculum. They consider information on how the program is working and ask themselves if there are alternative ways to make the program even better. So the question related to the idealization value is the question related to how how to improve a curriculum. And then the last is decision value. Decision value, it deals with the vital role that previous four questions play in the evaluation process. Evaluator and the curriculum decision maker should have evidence documented in such a manner that they can decide whether to retain, modify, or discharge a new program. And if we talk about the definition of evaluation, there are four definitions from different experts that stated in this chapter. And if we can resume what is the definition of evaluation, evaluation is a process that critically examines a program. It involves collecting and analyzing information about the program's activities, characteristics, and outcomes. In the slides, I try to take one of the subpoint from the chapter. It's about measurement versus evaluation, and it is stated by Fred Kendling in 1979. He said that measurement describes a situation or behavior in numerical terms. And if we try to compare between measurement and evaluation, we can conclude that measurement refers to the process of delegating a numerical index to the object in a meaningful and consistent manner. But evaluation, in the other side, is when the comparison is being made between the score of a learner with the score of other learner, and judge the result. So whether the learner gets A, B, or C, and etc. So that's the evaluation. Formative and summative evaluation. Formative and summative evaluation belongs to the curriculum models of curriculum evaluation. There are some differences that we can assume from this chapter about formative and summative evaluation. In formative evaluation, the purpose is to improve students' learning and evaluate how someone is learning material throughout the course, and then it takes place during the learning process. Meanwhile, in summative evaluation, the purpose is to evaluate students' achievements, then evaluate how much someone has learned throughout the course, and it takes place after course or units completions. Other evaluation model that explained in this chapter are based on the scientific and also humanistic approach. The first is stakes congruency contingency model, which was coming from Robert Stake in 1988. He proposed the congruence contingency model to evaluate the matching between the intended and the observed data in terms of three major areas: antecedents, transaction, and all outcomes. Antecedents is any condition that exists prior to teaching and learning that may influence outcomes. And transactions transaction occurs between students and teachers. students and students and resource people. Transactions also include students' interaction with curriculum materials and classroom environment. And meanwhile, outcomes is the program's result, including student achievement and sometimes attitude and student skills, impact on teachers' perceptions of their competence and influence of administrators' actions. The next curriculum evaluation model is a CIPP evaluation model. Is the program evaluation model, which was developed by Daniel Staplebeam in 1960s, and CIPP is the acronym for context, input, process, and product. If we talk about context evaluation, so evaluators examines the resources and also the background within the program as the scope of the evaluation and support the program has in place. And then if we talk about input evaluation stage, so during input evaluation stage, review focuses on identifying the key stakeholders and examining the program budget. This stage also collect information about planning and strategies for implementation, including human resources and also timeline. And in process evaluation, it deals with the activities of the program are assessed with the focus on continuous improvement, what is being done. And finally, evaluators using CIPP to measure the outcomes of the program and how effectively those outcomes are being addressed. The next model that I try to explain here based on this book is coming from humanistic models. It is named Eisner's connoisseurship and criticism model. It was developed by Eisner on the basis of expertise-oriented program evaluation approach. And Eisner described connoisseurship as a private private act engage to personally appreciate the qualities that constitute some object, situation, and also events. And it has five dimensions: intentional, structure, curricular, pedagogical, and evaluative. The intentional evaluation refers to a personal assessment of curriculum's value, merit, and also worth. And structural evaluation assess the curriculum design and school organizations. Curricular evaluation stage assess a curriculum specific content and how they are organized and sequenced. And for the pedagogical evaluation, it assesses instructional design and also teaching strategies. And Easton makes the point that in evaluations should include reporting to the public, parents, school board, local or state agencies, and evaluators must communicate the educational scene. The next model is illuminative evaluation, sometimes called explications. It was developed by Malcolm Bartlett and David Hamilton. And this approach is an approach to evaluate the condition of an educational program, mainly through qualitative evaluation approach, for example, ethnography. Illuminative evaluation has three steps. The first is observation, second further inquiry, and third is explanations. In stage of observation, evaluators get an overview of the program and describe the context within which the curriculum is being delivered, considering all factors that might influence the program. It can be from document analysis or cross observation. Meanwhile, in further inquiry, evaluators separate the significance from the trivial and seek to determine whether the program works and why or why not it doesn't work. So evaluators often use questionnaires, semi-structured interviews with the participants. And for the last stages is explanations. Evaluators try to explain um, uh, evaluators are presenting to the people affected by the program, who then make a decisions. And the next evaluation model is action research. Action research is an evaluative approach that blends the scientific and also humanistic approach. It is concerned with continual modification of educational experience so that every educational event is fresh. And then after evaluation model, this chapter also try to explain the evaluation steps. There are 6 steps. The first is focus. It means that focus on curricular phenomenon to be evaluated. Evaluators determine what they are going to evaluate and what design they will use. And then second step is collect the informations. In here, evaluators identify the necessary informations and they try to collect the information and gather the data. And then the next step is organize the information. Evaluators try to organize the information so that the intended audience will be able to interpret and use it. And the next step is analyze the informations. Evaluators try to select and employ analysis techniques appropriate to the evaluation's focus. And the fifth step is report the informations. Here, evaluators decide the nature of reporting because reporting is very essential to describe the data or the information that evaluators have gathered before. And then the last steps recycle the informations. It means that the need of current information requires continuous re-evaluation. So after the final decision of the curriculum itself, um, the stage still continue with the recycle because the evaluation uh, still continue uh, to have to be applicable in the future time. And then here, Ornstein in this chapter tried to explain the American test phenomenon. Where education is expensive, the public is increasingly concerned with getting the most for their money. Often teachers and administrators feel that test results could jeopardize their jobs and their schools' reputations. In such cases, teachers may teach to the test. And from this quotation, we can indicate that we are caught in the testing attempts. A high stake test is a test with important consequences for the test taker. Passing has important benefits such as a high school diploma, a scholarship, or a license to practice a professions. Ideally, however, a test should supply data by which educators can judge students' performance, curriculum appropriately, and the effectiveness of the instructional delivery systems. Although this approach usually boosts test scores, one wonders if such scores are evidence of higher quality learning. What do the resulting scores actually tell you? Tests fail to tell us if a student is a good learner, let alone a good person, especially standardized tests. There are 2 kinds of tests that Ornstein tried to explain in this chapter: norm reference test and criterion reference test. In a brief, norm reference tests are the most commonly used. Students' performance on a particular test is compared with that of other students. However, such tests have questionable value for measuring the quality of curriculum or the instructions. So they do not relate specifically to a particular curriculum, school, and content. They do not effectively measure what has been taught. They do not indicate what the students can or cannot do. Meanwhile, in criterion reference test is designed to indicate how a student performs a skill or a task or understand a concept with respect to a fixed criterion or standard. Um, There are alternative assessment. There are many new forms of assessing opinion and task. Students are required to use their knowledge and skills to create a product or solve a problem. Such evaluation events are called performance assessment. Performance assessment and authentic assessment are both examples of the alternative assessment, as they employ methods other than multiple choice or like develop objective tests. Authentic assessment includes real problem solving, designing and conducting experiments on a real problem. Authentic assessment employs strategies and approach that present students with real life situation and also their conditions. Um, okay. Here, William Glasser has proposed 7 features of optimal assessment. First, assessment should foster student growth. Second, assessment should allow us to see the consequences of a, instructional effect. Third, the assessment should illuminate the process and products of learning. Fourth, assessment should improve student self-assessment. Fifth, assessment should be an integral part of group activities. Sixth, assessment should entail meaningful tasks that tie in to overall learning and curriculum's knowledge goal. Seven, assessment should be comprehensive, addressing a broad range of information and skills rather than centering on narrow. And alternative assessment should be ongoing activity integral to curriculum enactment. New assessment method require new assessment criteria. George Hayne would include a moral standard among indicators of effective schooling. A school curriculum that meets a moral standard provides students with skill and knowledge requisite for contributing to the general social good. As Hayne indicates, a moral purpose was central to the progressive educational philosophy. So the portfolio is perhaps the most popular method of alternative assessment. Many evaluation reports, if we talk about the human issues of evaluation, many evaluation reports valid in all technical details have failed because of interpersonal insensitivity, ethnic or racial bias, or political need. The manner of representation determines whether the evaluation results will be misused or misinterpreted or simply ignored. Many aspects of curriculum evaluation are social, political, or ethical. Often schools release test results not to improve programs, but to please various power groups within the community or demonstrate to legislators that an educational program is effective. Sometimes test results are broadcast to convince various minority groups that their children are experiencing equity within school system. Many evaluators are reluctant to confront issues of social justice within the educational system. However, fairness is crucial. According to James Pellegrino, Nomi Chudowski, and Robert Glacier, the idea of comparable validity is at the core of fairness. A fair test furnishes data from which one can draw a valid inference across individuals and groups. Evaluators and test designers realize that certain test items produce different results among students from different groups, even when all students have been matched in ability regarding the attribute or knowledge being assessed. Also, is it fair to hold students with disabilities to the same standard as other students? Should students with reading and writing disabilities have to meet school standards in order to advance to the next grade or graduate? The issue of fairness also affects evaluation of students classified as gifted. Several evaluators and assessment experts suggest that to really address the issue of fairness, we must consider students' background, when we engage in evaluation. If we do this, we will be able to make conditional inference from the data analyze evaluation. So the data evaluation should encourage, not intimidate students. It should foster cooperation and a sense of community among students rather than feeling tense, aggressive competitions. Teachers should present tasks as the learning experiences, not as a means of reward and as a means of punishment. For the conclusion, evaluations needs to address more than students' cognitive dimensions. Tests and other means of evaluations need to gather data on the total person, cognitive, affective, emotional, and also moral. We also need to realize that students and teachers function within a various contexts and milieux. They interact with other inside and outside the school. We need to assess the amount and quality of such interactions and how they affect the curriculum teaching and also the learning. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much for the time, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.